Hi, and welcome to the Art of Film Funding. I'm your co-host, Claire Papin, along with writer-producer Carol Dean, author of the best-selling book, The Art of Film Funding, and host of this show. Carol is the president of From the Heart Productions, a nonprofit organization that has supported filmmakers with the Roy W. Dean Grant, fiscal sponsorship, education, and resources for over 30 years. Carol also teaches the Learn Producing class. Each class features an industry expert guest instructor and is designed to give the information, guidance, and support to become a successful producer. You can learn more about this class and all of From the Heart Productions offerings at FromTheHeartProductions.com. Today's conversation is especially meaningful because it sits at the intersection of distribution, community, and creative sustainability. Three areas that matter deeply to filmmakers navigating today's rapidly changing landscape. Carol and I are honored to welcome Rish Aggarwal, the co-founder and COO of Kinema, a groundbreaking platform that is redefining how films reach audiences through community-led screenings, filmmaker ownership, and direct relationships with viewers. Rich's work has helped thousands of filmmakers move beyond traditional gatekeepers and into a model that values connection, transparency, and long-term impact. Kinema is a technology-driven global screening and streaming platform designed to democratize film distribution and empower independent filmmakers. Before launching Kinema, Rich was a principal at Human Ventures, where he supported and invested in early-stage startups across a wide range of industries. Prior to that, he worked in fintech, leading strategic projects at Transactis ahead of its 2019 acquisition by Mastercard. At Kinema, he champions community-led screenings, virtual events, direct audience relationships, and most recently partnered with Show&Tell Films to expand resources and education for filmmakers within the Kinema ecosystem. And Carol, I know that you and From the Heart refer Kinema to your sponsored filmmakers.
Yes, we do, Claire, because it is a brilliant way to distribute your film. Wonderful people, caring, nurturing, supporting. And thank you, Rich, for joining us.
Thank you so much, Claire and Carol, for having me. I'm so excited to be here today and excited for our conversation.
Yes, we're going to have a good time. I want you to tell us about your journey, how your early experience in global development and tech led you to build Kinema.
Absolutely. Yeah. So I started out with a brief stint in global development, mostly focused on things like water, sanitation, hygiene, working with groups like Doctors Without Borders and Charity Water. And I love that time so much. It holds a very special place in my heart. But I always felt that, I wanted to see how we could achieve more scale, which is what led me to the sort of, the tech world, mostly out of it with a perspective of business for good. So I spent some time in fintech, mostly working on taking at a firm called Transactis, taking our technology and trying to expand it to small businesses and really helping to democratize access to those tools in healthcare and across small business. After we exited that company to Mastercard, I worked in at a firm called Human Ventures as principal, and my role was two things. It was investing in super early stage startups, but also helping build startups from the ground up with experienced founders. That's where I met Christy Marchese, my now business partner and the CEO of Kinema, um, who had, a lot of experience in filmmaking and more so impact production and impact distribution. And, we became to this idea of how do we really help figure out ways to help independent stories thrive in light of all the things that were happening at the time. So that was about 5 years ago. And now we're really happy to be building Kinema and working with filmmakers across the country and the world.
You certainly are, and they love it. I've never heard anything bad. All I get are great compliments.
That's great to hear.
Yes. Tell us how your background in tech informed the way you lead Kinema today.
Absolutely, yeah. I mean, Kinema, we really try to build the best technology possible for filmmakers to um, have the best shot at adding more revenue streams, reaching their audience, engaging and maintaining that audience, and still owning their rights and data. So we really try to build a full theater in a box solution combined with an operating system and full insights. All the big players in the space today, Netflix, all the streamers, and then all of the creator economy um, companies, from the social media ones to the ones that are helping to democratize access to content in other verticals, Substack, Patreon, have so much technology behind them, which is what makes it so powerful. Not just, the ability to watch a video, but the ability to own your audience, use data and all the sophisticated marketing tools that are available to many other industries. And the goal is to really bring that into Kinema for filmmakers to more effectively utilize to sort of supercharge their distribution, their marketing, and really help them have all the world-class tools that are available.
So you say you've designed it with a lot of information, analytics for filmmakers, right? Which they don't get with any other streamer. They don't know who's watching their material, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. I think in the traditional streaming distribution ecosystem, you sort of, you lose your rights, and a big part of that is you lose access to your data. So you don't know who's watching, where they're watching from, who they are. And that becomes an issue. One, because you don't get to create that snowball effect for yourself, right? Like we see so many people have great success in the creator economy space and the music space because they get to maintain their audience, right? So as a filmmaker, we think you should be able to do the same and have an audience that comes to see your film because they want to see what you're making. Your voice is authentic. So by accessing your own data, you're able to engage that audience in one project, carry them to the next one. Do things like have an early PVOD tour of your film and use that data to influence how you might want to do some in-person or theatrical distribution. So it allows you to be smart about your distribution, certainly, but it also allows you to really create um, this engaged audience that can be sustaining for your entire filmmaking career.
Yes, Ted Hope and Stefan Follows were talking about that just this last week,
Hmm.
about how important it is to stream your information before you just lock picture. And so, are you doing any of those where you're streaming a rough cut or a almost completed film to get feedback?
Oh, it's a great idea. Yeah, we actually do have some filmmakers on the platform who do that. And I think Kinema is a great tool for that. It's not been as, a big part of our business to date, but we're actively, encouraging folks to do that because the information you get back is great. It also creates a really good fundraising opportunity. Oftentimes, you get to the end of a film, and ideally or hopefully, you have, plenty of your budget left for marketing and distribution. But in some cases, there's a shortfall. Those early press, word of mouth, feedback screenings that you can do using our virtual player, our technology can help you drive ticket sales or donations to create a nice fundraising moment to get feedback, certainly, but also to help fill those shortfalls.
Yes, the feedback is what you need because you never really know what until it's on the big screen and you've got people watching. And then you have an opportunity to figure out who your real audience is.
Absolutely, yeah. We've seen a lot of folks who will join us at Kinema and have a large screening virtually that's attended, really well by folks across the country and the world. And, after the screening, we'll be able to send them the data of, hey, here's anonymized data of where folks were watching, right? And people are often surprised that like, oh, wow, I have these really large pockets of demand in places I didn't necessarily expect. And that data is super helpful for them to be able to say, okay, now as I approach my theatrical tour, this is good information on where I can maybe focus some marketing efforts or focus some dollars or effort.
And attached to other audiences that are similar. That's what it's important to find your real audience, as Keith says, uh, right at Show and Tell. Finding your audience is the key.
Yeah, if you ask me what I think the biggest challenge and therefore the biggest opportunity in independent filmmaking is, I think it's audience identification, especially when we talk about independent film, the challenge of, the reason all of the larger streamers are so powerful and so valuable to the market is because they own their audience, right? So that's why they don't give you any data. It's Netflix's product is the fact that they have an audience. Um, and so the ability for independent film to say, hey, okay, no, no, we're now going to be the ones who own the audience in a more democratized way is super powerful. And certainly it doesn't come without work. But I think that's the goal of what we're trying to build at Kinema is a way for you to own and maintain your own audience and identify them early, acquire them, and retain them.
Right. Yeah. So you said that Kinema was born to from a desire to give filmmakers meaningful life outside of traditional systems. And this is very true. The systems are not working really in independent filmmakers to their benefit. So, what was the catalyst for starting this platform?
Oh, great question. Yeah, so I mentioned I met my now business partner, Christy, the CEO of Kinema. She had a previous company called Picture Motion, where she spent a lot of time doing grassroots screening tours for documentaries and other really meaningful films. And through that work, she really discovered that like they were like really building these grassroots theatrical distribution tours on the back of Excel sheets and using DVDs in the mail and saw that it might be a really good way to give that power to have these in-person event footprints to all independent filmmakers. So that's really where this company started. We started Kinema, it was actually had a different name back then, with an idea of creating a way for filmmakers to have in-person events in mixed-use spaces, whether it's libraries, churches, farms. We've seen drive-ins for a long time. Um, so that was the early version of Kinema we built in about 2020. Started, launching the company and reaching out to fundraisers, to investors. And then COVID happened, and we're like, wow, well, we're trying to build a in-person business during March of 2020.
Yes.
Uh, so that was an interesting time, but the benefit there is that we, had all these folks who were onboarding with us and ready to start their tours for an in-person campaign, and we needed to quickly transition them to something that would work during that time. And that's how we built our virtual cinema, which is a synchronous way to watch films together across time zones with text chat and live broadcasting options after. And that really was sustaining during COVID, but we also found that that was a really amazing way for filmmakers to do things like premieres, press screenings, feedback screenings, all that kind of stuff. And so it became a big part of our platform, even as the COVID and the lockdown and those aspects faded away. So over time, our platform just kept evolving to meet new filmmaker needs and new market needs. Um, and we sort of try to just be a place for independent filmmakers and their stories, and we listen to them and keep building more and more features. We built on-demand screenings so that people could do more sort of like PVOD campaigns and film drops, full TVOD support, lots of additional um, layers of data and how you access that. Um, and so, yeah, that's how it came to be.
And then, of course, you became a perfect place for show and tell. So tell me the vision behind this partnership.
Yeah, I mean, Show and Tell is a fantastic partner. And they are a masterclass in distribution and fundraising. They offer education, coaching, community. And so it's a really great combination because we've been spending all our time, as we mentioned, trying to build the best-in-class technology for distribution. And Keith and the team at Show and Tell is just so amazing at um, the um, the coaching and the learning of what does distribution look like um, in this new world. And so what's really exciting is that, that partnership is great. And now, filmmakers at Kinema get access to Show and Tell, which is so beneficial. And folks at Show and Tell get access to Kinema distribution services. But what's really great is I think there's this much larger community of businesses and organizations that are committed to helping independent stories thrive. We also have a partnership with Seed and Spark, which offers um, crowdfunding for filmmakers, and I think has really amazing success rates. So there's a lots of people in this industry that are really working hard to help fill all these gaps and help create new systems, education, and programs that um, make distribution and fundraising and all parts of independent filmmaking a little bit easier and a little bit more sustainable.
Will and Seed and Spark use your system for crowdfunding?
Yeah, so we have a partnership with Seed and Spark as well. Emily Best is a fantastic voice and um, contributor in the space as well. So Seed and Spark filmmakers who have a fully funded, and I think in Seed and Spark, where greenlit film on Seed and Spark, get access to Kinema automatically. And it's a really good through line because we often find that the folks that are working on crowdfunding early on are really entrepreneurial and have a lot of the early support that it takes to do alternative distribution.
Wow, that's wonderful. So the Seed and Spark people are raising money to make the film, so they use your database for funding. And so you have Show and Tell, Seed and Spark, so you must have a giant tech department.
Our team is mostly tech. To clarify, we don't, Seed and Spark doesn't use our database to fundraise. We keep that private. It's more that we're a good pipeline for that, for them to be able to do distribution after the fact. And oftentimes when you have crowdfunders and early investors, they're like your sort of super connectors to help you jumpstart alternative distribution. But yes, to your question, our team is mostly tech and product focused, as well as a lot of folks who are very either from or in tune with the independent film space.
Right. Well, let's talk about innovative tools that you have. Which ones are you the most excited about right now, especially for filmmakers seeking sustainable revenue streams?
It's a great question. I mean, what's exciting to me is that we build a lot of tools that are in and around different ways to distribute your film under your non-theatrical license, under TVOD. We also offer series support. What's really exciting that I see is the way filmmakers, the creativity we see our filmmakers use those tools with. So we're constantly amazed that we have filmmakers that really take advantage of our on-demand screenings to do things like film drops. Um, and create really good demand out of having early limited release runs of a film. So that's what's really exciting. I think that with the data piece for us at Kinema is sort of a really exciting part where we're trying to put more time and energy on our product team to build more and more ways for you to manage and access your data and make it easier for you to like I mentioned, do sort of this really professional digital marketing with your film and have the feedback loop that helps you do that. So I think that's a part of the company that we're focused on improving even more over time.
Oh, wonderful. So what types of films and creators tend to succeed on Canva? And what advice would you give filmmakers beginning to explore this model?
Yeah, great question. I mean, I think the job of a filmmaker is becoming increasingly hard. You have to make the film, become a marketing expert and um, a business person all in one. So it takes a lot. And I think, all the work that Show and Tell and Seed and Spark and all your podcast and from the Heart Productions is doing is really important. And what that's creating is this really entrepreneurial filmmaker that, I think when they understand early that, distribution is not something that you get, it's something that you do. That's a big benefit because that often means that they're coming into distribution um, with a treasure trove of data, of audience, and often at least a little bit of budget to do the work there. And we often say that finishing the film is unfortunately only half the battle these days. So that being said, I think we think that filmmakers that do best on Kinema are often the entrepreneurial ones that either are ready to do it, some of the hard work in and around marketing and audience building and engagement themselves, or with a partner or with a team around them, hopefully. And the advice is typically that I give to folks, especially if you're, in the early days of starting a film, is it's never too early to start building your audience and collecting that information. From the time you fundraise to your production, it's really about building community and having, the people that care about your film, care about the topic as your sort of supporters and super connectors, because, one person who's a super fan is really worth 10 people down the line or 100 people down the line who may watch and be part of your audience and your revenue model. And the other piece of advice is to fundraise early. I think it's um, you know building a budget for a film is, filmmakers want to make films, but you also have to consider the fact that you know sometimes up to 50% of your budget should be dedicated to distribution and marketing. And it can be a challenge to finish a film and then um, start fundraising again thereafter.
Yes, this is a most important way to think. We always said about motion picture films that came out of the studios, whatever the budget was, they had to spend that again in marketing. They would double the budget.
Totally, yeah. Yeah.
Filmmakers don't want to hear that.
I know, yeah.
It's hard.
It's hard, and we're asking filmmakers to do a lot these days. I am very aware that if you're a filmmaker and you're listening to this, it sounds like you're being asked to make the film and then build an entire business around it. And well, I think that's true. And I think that, as a filmmaker, you have to make sure all the competencies around distribution, marketing, are solved for. I think the one thing I'd also say to filmmakers is that you definitely don't have to do it yourself. If you don't want to um, do marketing and it's not your strong suit, you just have to make sure that, you work with someone, whether it's an impact producer, um, a a friend, someone you hire that does it for you or with you. So having a team around you is, I think, a great way to navigate all of the increasing challenges that we talk about here when we talk about distribution.
Yes, that's true. Well, let's talk about how Kinema supports both in-person and virtual screenings. So they've got two formats there, and they complement each other, right? So how do they use both of them to get the most out of their distribution?
Oh, great question. Yeah. So, I mean, the way we built Kinema is to have a bunch of options that, suit you no matter what point at which you are in your distribution journey. So we have a lot of folks that use Kinema for everything. And what we really say is to think about your distribution waterfall and think about how you can create demand and really achieve that snowball effect of, early releases that support create demand and keep creating more and more demand, just like theatrical windows created demand for DVD sales. So in-person and virtual screenings work really well for that, where you can use a virtual screening to have a really sort of eventized and exclusive premiere, for example, right? And that premiere will help you generate press, some funds maybe, and also some information about, like I said, where your audience is. And you can use that to then complement and support your in-person tour. So we really see them as sort of being distinct parts of your distribution journey, um, and good ways to sort of think about how you can take that distribution waterfall and take the time of your distribution and really make sure that each section of it helps the next section become more and more powerful.
Yes, this is very important. So, what do you think is one common distribution myth that you wish filmmakers would stop believing?
Oh, that's a good one. I think that, I think I mentioned this earlier, but I think the concept that distribution is something you get, and not something that you sort of actively do, it would be the main myth, I think, is I definitely see it changing in a lot of folks and in a lot of filmmakers that we work with. But I think the distribution landscape has changed so significantly over the past, decade that while it might be nice to think that, oh, I'm going to make this film, it's going to go off into someone else's hands and I'll be on the beach while the money rolls to my bank account. That's often just not the case for filmmakers in the modern environment. And active distribution is really the way forward for a large percentage of the films that are being made today. And that requires a lot of work, but I think that also is a big opportunity for filmmaking and filmmakers. Active distribution means that you get a lot more control for doing that work. You get the access to your audience, you get a lot more insights, and ideally that becomes like this asset you have in addition to your film. So whereas right now a lot of the platforms own the audience, by being active about distribution, independent filmmaking as a community and independent filmmakers can be the one that have the control over that audience.
Exactly. Well, are there genres or themes that resonate especially well on Kinema?
Oh, great question. We've seen so many films across genres and themes do well on Kinema. We do see documentaries do really well on the platform, specifically because they often have existing built-in audiences. Um, and so when we talk about finding your audience, it's often about trying to find these hidden pockets of demand for your film, right? And for independent filmmaking, in contrast to a four-quadrant film that comes out of a major studio, that presents a challenge. How do you find folks that are interested in this somewhat um, alternative or maybe niche segment? So for documentaries, because they're often part of the issue area or movement that they are speaking about, they're often connected with groups of advocacy groups, community groups, all these folks that care about the topic and are therefore sort of pre-built audiences for them to connect with. So we see documentaries often do really well by being able to connect with those folks, which is why I would, as you asked before, I would say like, being able to engage folks as you build a film and make sure that you stay part of those communities and you're still top of mind for those um, communities is so important.
Well, as From the Heart Productions is a nonprofit, as you know,
Hmm.
we have a lot of filmmakers under our sponsorship. So Mark Murray, I've known him for years, and Mark just finished Baristas versus Billionaires.
Oh yeah,
Right. And so he said, he was looking for how to distribute it. And I said, well, you have to go read everything about Kinema and make a decision. But that's where I think you belong. And he joined you and he's really happy.
that's amazing. We love to hear that, Carol.
Yeah.
Yeah,
His documentary is on the people at Starbucks who tried to unionize and, of course, immediately got fired.
yeah,
And but it's so great to have um, a place for documentaries, short or long, it doesn't matter. But this is the most important thing right now because, see, then he can use his union groups and drive them.
totally. The film is fantastic, and I love the name Baristas vs. Billionaires. Has such a good ring to it. It immediately caught my eye when I first saw it.
Yes, and he's
Yeah,
doing very well. He's going to have his California debut out here at the Ethos Film Festival. So we're very excited about his work with you.
that's fantastic.
So let's start with how filmmakers can reach you and start learning what you do early in their career.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. I mean, First, just reach out. We love to chat. We always are happy to hop on the phone and chat about, certainly what we do, but more about your project and, where Kinema might fit in, and how it fits in. So you can email us at films@kinema.com, or just if you are on our website, there's a button on most pages that says chat with us. And yeah, I mean, I think it's never too early to start thinking about distribution. And, even if, let's say your focus is not on active or alternative distribution, whatever you want to call it, it's certainly important to have that conversation early, just so you're prepared for, all the outcomes that um, you may encounter as you finish your film and your project.
Well, that takes us to the brilliant distribution playbook that you created. I understand you co-authored that. I thank you profusely for this playbook. I teach it to my filmmakers. It's one of the most important things they have to read. So explain to our audience what it is, please.
Oh, that's great. We're so happy that you're using it. So the Distribution Playbook is a wonderful open source resource that was co-authored by Christy Marchese, my business partner, and Emily Best at Seed and Spark. And it really came out of a need to, share all of the information they both have and had about distribution in the modern landscape. So it's not necessarily about Kinema or Seed and Spark. Those certainly are a part of it, but it's about much more than that and what distribution looks like in the modern landscape, how to find um, the information you might need, from fundraising to um, different parts of the filmmaking process to building a team. So it's really um, a vast resource on a lot of topics and a way to find more resources. There's case studies in there that from folks who have found success in alternative distribution. So we certainly recommend checking it out. It's thedistributionplaybook.com. It's updated pretty frequently and has a lot of resources that, like I said, are about, but more than just Kinema and or Seed and Spark. So yeah, we certainly recommend you check it out.
Yes, can you share a couple of the insights? Because it is really a great book.
Yeah, absolutely. So some of them talk about things like, the the important things to do um, during fundraising that'll affect your distribution. So, for example, um, making sure that, like we said before, Carol, that up to 50% of your budget is allocated for distribution as you come to it. There's a lot of information in there about how to understand all the sections of the distribution waterfall and all the pieces of pie and your types of rights. So making sure that before you get to distribution, you understand what your options are for your theatrical rights and your non-theatrical rights and your streaming rights, and how to make sure you maximize all of those. What deal making looks like from traditional distributors, so you know how to identify good deals and bad deals, and when to take one or when to walk away. So there's a lot of information there that I think really helps folks understand what that landscape looks like because it's very dynamic. Certainly, but there's also so many options available to you as a filmmaker on where to take your project and your asset, and how to monetize it. So understanding all those details, I think, is super important, even down to like, what is a minimum guarantee, and how does that um, pay out, and what does that waterfall look like if you um, um, what's left to you after you pay out the waterfall?
Right,
Yeah,
right. And understanding the waterfall. That's
certainly, exactly. Yeah,
But see, the playbook is the most honest thing I have ever read. Do not expect to get distribution, you say boldly. You need to realize that you probably won't. You're going to have to do it yourself. So here's what you need to do. And then, it's face reality. And for filmmakers, this is exactly what they need to hear early on.
absolutely. Yeah, I agree.
And I know that filmmakers often worry about losing rights or revenue in distribution, but they don't when they work with you, right? So explain how you empower creators to retain control and build long-term audience relationships?
Oh yeah, great question. I mean, this is happening in so many other industries, Carol. Like we're seeing people use Substack in writing to publish their own stories, people using Patreon to own their own audience in music. So we're happy it's happening in the film and people are able to take back control of their content. So Kinema is non-exclusive, that's not like a thing you need to ask for with us. It's just our standard terms and conditions. And we really tried to build Kinema to be um, additive to your distribution plans. So your film is always yours, your data is yours, and it's always your asset. And Kinema is just your partner in distribution. So we often also want to remind people that you don't need to use Kinema um, for everything, and it's not an sort of either or. It can often be an and it's an additive platform. You may say, you know what, I have this great distribution deal for theatrical in the US and Canada. On Kinema, you can just unselect US and Canada, geo-block those, and still run with us in the rest of the world. And more than that, like I mentioned before, you get access to your audience data. And the ideal outcome for Kinema long term is that filmmakers are able to begin to own their audience. And by doing all this hard work of alternative distribution, you will identify, engage, and then retain your audience. So now you've done your first film. When it comes to your second film, you now have this treasure trove of information of folks that you've watched your first film who are interested in what you have to say and interested in your voice and are ready to come watch your next film. And so all that work you did in your first film helps you the next time. And instead of the platforms owning that asset, now your film is not just your asset, but your audience is also a big part of your business and your filmmaking career.
Right. Well, because you are so forward thinking, to have Kinema sitting there when we all became locked down and virtual screening was in its infancy, it was perfect for you. So, looking ahead, what trends in independent film distribution excite you the most?
Oh, great question. Um, I mean, I think this idea of people being able to take control of their content is really exciting. And like I said, we're seeing it happening in so many other industries across the creator economy. And so I think what I'd love to see happen, let's say over the next 5 years, is to see alternative and active distribution become kind of the norm instead of the fallback. I think oftentimes we see filmmakers say, okay, I didn't get distribution. Now I'm going to go to Kinema or to active or self-distribution. So many names for it. So I think it'd be really interesting, and we're starting to see this now, but to see over the next few years, um, the shift continue to happen where people are building films for active and self-distribution, and that becomes a big part of the standard distribution landscape. And I think that's a big um, thing for us, certainly at Kinema, but I think it's it should be a great goal for the industry at large.
Absolutely. Finding your audience. And I think that filmmakers seem to promote themselves more. I think they need to do introductions before the film. Just
Yeah.
here I am, I'm a filmmaker, I made this film for you. Let me know what you think about it. I thank you for watching my film and being part of my community. Because that's what's going to have to happen. And then the next film they make, they already have an existing community. I've seen filmmakers who make films in one subject and then switch to a different topic and lose their audience. So most people realize to get an audience behind them and keep making films of similar content to maintain that. So I hope
Hmm.
you know that helps, right? You've seen.
Yeah. Absolutely. I always tell filmmakers, don't underestimate the authenticity and the power of your own voice. I mean, I think people want to consume content from the people who create it. That's becoming more and more the norm. And like when you're doing marketing, the fact that a filmmaker is behind their own film and out there saying, hey, watch this thing I created,
Yes,
we see as being incredibly powerful.
absolutely. I think that's a lot of fun.
Yeah.
Uh, the last question, what legacy do you hope to leave for filmmakers beyond Kinema as a platform in terms of how films are shared, supported, and experienced?
Great question. We also at Kinema, we really think seeing films socially is so important. So I think the biggest legacy is, helping to be a part of the change in um, filmmakers, owning their own content, all things we talked about a lot. But the second thing is also making filmmaking or the consumption of films and viewing films less of a siloed experience you do on your own, and also a very social thing. We put a lot of time into the event side of Kinema, in-person events, virtual events, and we see people really engage with the topic of the film and want to talk about it. Even if they're not showing up in person, but they're showing up virtually, they really love to be able to um, experience things together. I mean, the silver screen has been such an important part of our culture for so many years, and as theater closed down across the country and the world, people need a space to um, view things together, talk about them, and come to an event. And so we think social cinema is still has a very important place in our culture, in the revenue model for films. We think that certainly the place that happens might change. It may move from a theater to the screen. It may move from a theater to a mixed-use space. But we think it's certainly a very important part of the way forward, and a part that will still persist.
Thank you so much. What I love about you and Kinema is that it's not just your vision, but it's your generosity. You build systems that work for filmmakers and you share what you're learning along the way. This is so important. So thank you very much, Rish. This has been a very thoughtful and inspiring conversation. And what I want
Sorry.
to take away, thank you. So you're just full of guidance and information. Thank you.
Thank you, Carol. It's so amazing to be here. And likewise, I mean, From the Heart Productions and the podcast is such a amazing organization, and it's your dedication to filmmaking and independent filmmakers is evident. And this is a fantastic resource in itself for everyone interested in the industry and in filmmaking. So
Thank
thank you.
you. That's so kind of you. So, what I want filmmakers to take away from today is distribution doesn't have to be something that happens to you, it can be something you actively shape with intention, community, and clarity about your values. So, From the Heart, we really believe in supporting filmmakers, not just with funding, but with education, strategy, and trusted partners. So, conversations like this are part of that mission, helping you to see the bigger picture and make empowered choices for your work and your future. So, all of us, thank you from the art of film funding and we want you to keep trusting your voice, keep building your community, and keep moving forward one step at a time. So we will see you in another week. Thank you very much. Bye for now.
Now, in its second edition, Carol Dean's popular book, The Art of Film Funding, has 12 new chapters to cover all areas of film financing and how to avoid expensive pitfalls. Learn how to start with an idea and end with a trailer, how to make an ask for money, create your story structure and your trailer, legal advice, fair use, successful crowdfunding, how to ask for music rights, and what insurance you can't shoot without. Available on Amazon under Carol Dean and at FromTheHeartProductions.com. I want to remind our listeners that David Raiklin is a brilliant and talented award-winning musician who scores films and can compose music for a trio or for a full orchestra. David is a very good friend to the independent filmmaker and comes highly recommended by From the Heart Productions. If you need music to help tell your story, please contact him at davidraiklin.com. That's David, RAIKLEN.com. And Carol and I want to thank you for tuning in to The Art of Film Funding. Please visit our website at FromTheHeartProductions.com. You can also find us on Facebook and Twitter. Good luck with your films, everyone.